Good morning. If you cannot tell, we are inside today because it is snowing outside in the middle of May. And you will have to forgive me, my voice is still a bit raspy. We missed our episode last week because I was very, very sick. But we're surviving, we're here, and I refuse to let some allergies get me down. I have taken the time to rest and do all the things, and now we are back and better than ever, as they say. And I have to keep that good mindset as I push forward in life, which brings me to what I want to talk about today, of course, is the power of our mindset, our subconscious. What does that look like in an actual, real, scientific stance? If you are new here, welcome to the Club of for Learning and for Healing. I am your host, The Real Milky, and this is the Thought Dollar Podcast. I feel like when it comes to talking about things like subconscious mindset, manifestation, things like that, it's hard for people to actually really sit down and understand it because it's either being presented in this super like hippie woo-woo way and people kind of like disregard it as something that's not really true or meaningful or something that they could apply to their life, or people explain it in a very unrealistic way, which I've in my personal life seen more experiences of people explaining manifestation in a very unrealistic way that it's hard for people to actually grasp the concept of what it is to manifest, of what it is to train your mindset so that it shapes your reality. So I quickly wanted to talk on today literal specific science behind shifting your mindset and manifestation. A lot of what I do and a lot of my talking pieces on my social media are literally about shifting your mindset. And yeah, I am a die-hard believer in that because my life absolutely changed when I shifted how I thought, when I shifted my perspective, when I was real with myself about the limiting beliefs and the subconscious mindset that I was actually holding. First, I want to start off talking about manifestation. Manifestation is not this it is magical, but it's not this like random magical write words all over your walls and drive yourself insane and just hope for the best. With manifestation, there actually does come some work. And though, yes, the whole journaling aspect of, writing down what it is that you want, writing down what you believe so you can get a clear cut idea on what that is. That is a very helpful exercise for sure. But where I feel like a lot of people get lost and they start to doubt their own manifestations is you are writing 10 pages in your notebook of I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to be rich over and over and over again. And then you go back and you sit on your ass. You do nothing to work towards said manifestation. You are trying to open the door to allow something in, but you're not doing any of the work to get that energy flowing. That's like inviting somebody over for dinner, and when they get to the door, you invite them and they sit at the table, but you haven't even started to cook. You haven't even started to prep any of your veggies or your food. And so they're just sitting there and they're kind of like, well, why am I here? And you keep saying to them, well, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. Like, oh, well, yeah, like I'll eventually start to do it. When that is not how manifestation works, manifestation relies on two things. And though that is belief as one of them, the other one is action. I feel like a lot of our manifestation energy comes from our solar plexus, which is the I do, that's your action chakra. That's where we get the energy of motivation to get up and do the thing. There's a quote that I heard a lot growing up about how faith without works is dead. And I believe that is literally what manifestation is. You cannot believe something will happen to you if you are not opening and allowing the space for this literal energy to come in. You have to start putting in actual action towards those manifestations to see the results that you want. If you were trying to manifest being rich, being successful in your business, you need to be waking up every single day asking yourself, how am I going to make money? How am I going to make my business better today? How am I going to make myself better for my business today? You have to wake up every day and be willing to do the work. And that's the hard part that people don't talk about. People want this easy cop out of like, I just want to believe and then it's going to happen. And as much as I wish that was true, it's absolutely not. Belief without work is just hopes and wishes. That's all it is. And it's also very hard for us as humans to believe in something that we do not see the works of. Yeah, of course, it's hard to believe in yourself when you never get up to actually do anything that can prove to yourself that you're working towards this goal, that you have the ability to make this thing happen. And with affirming your manifestations and allowing yourself that foundation to build, that's when you now start to shift over into the mindset shift of things, training your brain and the patterns that it has to respond differently to different situations, to see opportunities as they come, because it is scientifically proven when we are in a negative state of mind and we are not training our brain patterns properly, it is actually harder for us opportunities that get us ahead in life. Either overlook them, or we'll have this sort of imposter syndrome around it where we feel we don't deserve it, or we feel it couldn't possibly be real, not for me. Think of our brain as almost some sort of architect. Our brain doesn't just record reality, but it constructs it. And it does that constructing through beliefs, predictions, and interpretations. And this is what I mean a lot when I say things like, we are the creators of our own reality. Your brain shapes your reality. And I think people kind of confuse or misinterpret that, and they think like, I have this special like brain mind power, and like if I think that that thing's going to turn green, you mean it's going to turn green? Like, what do you mean by this? It's like, no, there's actually a very neurological answer with psychology and neuroscience that explains how our brains quite literally shape the reality that we live. It shapes how we respond to it. It shapes how we operate throughout the life that we are handed. The aspect of that repeated manifestation that we were talking about, of like writing down over and over, or constantly thinking this manifested thought over and over in your brain, I want to be rich, I want to be successful, I want to be happy. That is really just neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is simply just repeated thoughts in your brain that start to create these new neurological connections that rewire your brain and quite literally allow you to act different based on whatever that mental focus is. It starts to allow you to perceive things differently as well. I think one of my favorite aspects of neuroplasticity is the concept of being grateful. Something I talk about all the time is how you need to put out gratitude in order for the universe to return more things to you to be grateful for. And usually those look like blessings and things like that. And it makes sense with the concept of neuroplasticity, because if you are constantly saying in your head, or you're constantly writing down, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. I try to wake up every day and think of 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for off the bat. Well, with that continuous pattern happening in your mind, you start to rewire your brain to be grateful for things, which that shows up in your day-to-day life as you're looking around, you're living life, you're doing what you always do, but you start to notice more and more things that you're grateful for. You start to notice things that you may have overlooked, that you realize, wow, I'm actually really lucky to have this in my life. I'm very privileged and grateful to have this thing going for me. And eventually, your perceptive reality will start to shift with that. You will start receiving more things to be grateful for. It will be like little blessings. Somebody pays for your food in the drive-through, and you're like, wow, I'm really grateful for that. That kindness, that's amazing. You will start to see things like this trickle into your life. And before you know it, you will be surrounded by that thing. That's why mindset is so important. How you think of yourself, how you think of your life, how you perceive yourself and your life and your goals is so important and detrimental, because we literally shape our reality. We will literally start to allow that energy to flow in our life. And you want those good things. Life is not always good things, but you can still better get through those things with having a proper mindset. The mindset that you carry is what gets us through those hard days, those hard times. And after I feel like you kind of master that neuroplasticity aspect, that's when your brain starts to flip into cognitive filtering. So neuroplasticity is going to allow you to build that solid foundation and that belief. It's repeated, it's over and over, and you start to really believe that it's true, and you start to see the evidence that is true based on your perceived reality. So cognitive filtering is when your brain establishes what your real subconscious beliefs are, so it starts to filter out any thoughts or behaviors that do not align with that. And you will start to act different over time as you get used to this and make sense of it all. So, if your neuroplasticity pattern of the week was to express more gratitude, your cognitive filtering is going to start filtering out behaviors that are very ungrateful. It's going to start filtering out experiences that won't make you grateful. And this is all part of your perceived reality, because something you do need to understand is that our reality is only the reality we see because we only see our own perspective. We can hear of other people's perspectives in life and the things that they go through, but we will never know it as an actual experience from their lens, because we experience things through our lens. Even if you go through the exact same thing as someone else, you experienced it through your lens and your mindset versus them. And two people can think completely different. And our thoughts fuel our emotions, and our emotions is what causes behaviors that create tangible outcomes for our life. Most common example, you keep a positive mindset, that is going to start in return making you happier, making you feel more open, motivated, productive. You start to trust yourself, things like that. So now when life starts to present you with those opportunities, you have a good mindset. You believe you deserve those things. You will start to respond differently to the opportunities and the things that arise for you. All in all, manifestation is strengthening your neural pathways related to the outcome that you want to see. And I've touched on this in some of my other episodes as well, on how we as humans actually operate within our subconscious. Our deeply rooted beliefs and behaviors are rooted in what our subconscious believes, and that's the section of your brain that everybody's trying to master. Everybody's trying to train in a certain way, because your subconscious belief are the things that you believe deep to your core at the back of your mind that your brain automatically acts off of even when you're not thinking about it. That's why when we talk about mindset shift, mastering your mind, mastering your thoughts, we are not just talking about mastering the forefront of your mind. We're talking about mastering the back of your mind, the darkest part of your mind, where you don't even think that that's where your belief is coming from, but that's actually where it's rooted in. That is your foundation. And training your mind is not an easy thing, and do not try to make it one. Do not try to train your mind and give it this limited box of, you need to get it done in 3 days. You need to have your mind train in this amount of time. It's going to take some serious time to train yourself out of the literal pathways you build. I'm pretty sure I said this in my last episode, but our brains operate on patterns. They operate on habit. And a pattern and a habit is literally the groove pathway in our brain. So when you are trying to train yourself out of bad habits, out of bad mindsets, you are quite literally going to have to go against the grain to train your mind, to completely flip it, to have a whole different foundation, a whole different belief, so that you can start to operate within that belief. Your behaviors will start to show that belief, your mindset, your thought processes, the way that you express your dreams, the way that you deal with issues and deal with other people. All of that solely and heavily relies on the mindset that you carry. Always, always remember that your reality starts within. You have to fix the reality within if you want the reality on the outside to follow. That's all that I have for you guys today. I hope you all stay warm if it is anywhere near as cold as it is where I am, where you are. Make sure to check out the link in my description box below. It's going to have all of my links, the Spotify, my Depop where you can purchase my clothes from my clothing brand, my TikTok, my Instagram to connect more with me. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to turn on those post notifications because I have some pretty cool videos coming out outside of the Thought Daughter podcast, but you will also get alerted when I have new episodes up for this podcast. Make sure to share this video with a friend who really needs to hear it. I love you guys so much. Stay cunty, make money, and ask lots of fucking questions. I will talk to you next time. Bye.